Experience Karen Hunter in a completely different way. Karen Hunter is awesome. The podcast.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're going to love me in Karen Hunter is Awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of The Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is Awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power. A 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. Check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed. There's a story about Harvard where Dolan Perkins, Valdez, and Michelle and Barack Obama, and so many other people have matriculated. And, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm actually going to read the Newsweek story because it's so well done. I said, good. Thank you, Newsweek. Where's the story, Smith? All right, here we go. Harvard defies Trump. Harvard University's $53 billion endowment gives the institution more power than others to stand up to the Trump administration's efforts to force compliance with its agenda. Though there are restrictions that limit how the funds can be spent, because if you have an endowment, you can go online and read up on endowments. There's specific ways that you have to spend your endowments. Former Harvard president Larry Summers, who's complicated. I've been talking about Larry Summers for 30 years. He's very complicated. I think he believes that women are not intellectually as astute as men. I remember there was a story about him, but in this case, right? So we don't toss everything a person says to the side just because they said something problematic. We take the good, we chew up the meat and spit out the bones. He told students and alum last week that as the wealthiest university in the country, Harvard is well positioned to resist this administration's demands. With all of those assets, if Harvard can't resist, who can, he said. Spot on. So here's the context. And this is what I love about Newsweek. They break it down. They're going to tell you what it is, and then they're going to give you the context. Well, the Trump administration has withheld federal money from several universities to pressure institutions to comply with Donald Trump's political agenda. The administration has argued that universities allowed anti-Semitism to go unchecked. This is a lie, by the way. At campus protests against Israel's war in Gaza last year, Columbia University caved. This is Newsweek, caved to the government's demands under the threat of cuts. So everybody's worried. All of these states, they're gonna cut the funding. So Gretchen Whitmer, and she should show up for her people. She's a politician. But let's be clear. The states that I live in, you live in California, I live in Jersey, Connecticut, New York. We send more money to the federal government. What if we did not? Come and get the money. What you gonna do? Now, you know what? Louisiana, Alabama, all these states that voted for Trump, that need all of this money, that New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, California are sending. If we didn't send the money, yeah, let's see if the federal government can fund you like that. This is the fight. And Harvard's starting, okay? So here's what you need to know. What to know. Harvard's endowment was $53.2 billion in 2024, according to a financial report from the university. The endowment is the largest source of revenue for the university's budget. Harvard received $2.4 billion from the endowment in 2024, accounting for about 37% of the university's $6.4 billion operating expenses that year. So they need $6.4 billion. They have $53.2 billion. They could last for a minute. They have lawyers as well. Last month, the administration said it was reviewing $9 billion in federal grants and contracts to Harvard. Harvard on Monday said the university would not bend to the government's demands, which included shutting all diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and ensuring all hiring, promotion, and admissions decisions are merit-based, whatever that means. Hours later, that was me talking, not this article. Hours later, a federal joint task force announced a freeze on $2.2 billion in funding for Harvard. But the university still relies on other sources to fund almost 2/3 of its operating expenses, such as federal and non-federal research grants. Furthermore, there are restrictions on how the university can spend the funds, limiting how much could go towards supporting programs, blah, blah, blah. 70% of the annual distribution of the endowment fund is directed by donors. So people donate, they don't need the federal government. And let me go down. So the university is gearing up for a legal fight. They've retained two prominent Republican lawyers, William Burke, a former deputy counsel to George W. Bush, and Robert Hur, H-U-R, who was the special counsel who investigated President Joe Biden's handling of classified documents. So these are not people, these are friends, but they are coming because, hey, this is unconstitutional. Neither Harvard nor any other private university can allow itself to be taken over by the federal government. These lawyers wrote in a letter to the administration. Harvard remains open to dialogue about what the university has done and is planning to do to improve the experience of every member of its community, but Harvard is not prepared to agree to demands that go beyond the lawful authority of this and any other administration. What people are saying, Alan Garber, said in a statement on Monday, Harvard president Alan Garber said no government, regardless of which party is in power, should dictate what private universities can teach, whom they can admit and hire, and which areas of study and inquiry they can pursue, especially if they can't read themselves. That's me adding that. Former President Barack Obama, an alum of Harvard Law, he put this on Twitter, Harvard has set an example for other higher ed institutions, rejecting an unlawful and ham-handed attempt to stifle academic freedom while taking concrete steps to make sure all students at Harvard can benefit from an environment of intellectual inquiry, rigorous debate, and mutual respect. Let's hope other institutions follow suit. And finally, Representative Elise Stefanik, who's a horrible person, Republican, wrote, Harvard University has rightfully, because, Newsweek is balanced, so you're going to put the asshole statement here as well. Harvard University has rightfully earned its place as the epitome of the moral and academic rot in higher education. She added, it is time to totally cut off U.S. taxpayer funding to this institution that has failed to live up to its founding motto, Veritas, which is truth. Defund Harvard, she wrote. First of all, if we could stop paying Elon Musk $8 million, was it $8 million a week or a day? Can we stop funding Donald Trump's trips to Mar-a-Lago, to the golf in Burnsville, New Jersey? Can we stop paying for him to go golfing while Rome burns? Like, that would save tax. I would rather my taxpayer dollars not go to that. So we're gonna stay vigilant and pay attention to that.
Experience Karen Hunter in a completely different way. Karen Hunter is awesome. The podcast.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're gonna love me. And Karen Hunter is awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of the Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power, a 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. Check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed.